Travis Wayne Goodsill. While I was away today, I got a return email of the waiver of service of summons. So it was Tad, or Taylor, sorry. It looks like Tad on the email because T had Tad. So he's the one that took responsibility to send it back. So they're on the ball on this one. As very next day. So to recap, the previous lawsuit was about the church having turned my petition for a redress of grievances into a criminal action by calling me a terrorist threat and my petition as a weapon of mass destruction. I was then found not competent because that's what white people are accused of being in a lawsuit, whereas blacks are accused of being terrorists. So I got the best of both worlds. But the judge, of course, because my old missionary companion was a part of the Judas betrayal of me, assigned Dr. Cohn to evaluate me. And Dr. Cohn created a history right there in her report to the judge. I got half of the pages, every other page, so I was able to see the highlights, to see that she was creating a history of me, because I have no history, none. I got to see my parents throw me under the bus, as they said, oh yeah, Travis has seen all these psychiatrists, and oh yeah, and yeah, they lied, no history. That's why I was put in the drunk tank for a long period of time. I was in pre-processing, as the one lady, I couldn't tell if she was flirting with me or if she recognized me or what, but I still had my sunglasses on. The cops didn't take those off. And so that was weird, as she was just staring at me the whole time. Whatever. But yeah, they were searching and searching all over Utah trying to find a history. None. Doesn't exist, guys. And so yeah, Dr. Cohn manufactured a history of disability for me, and recommended that I am not competent to stand trial, when all that it requires is for me to be able to communicate with my lawyer, which I was very capable of communicating with my lawyer, except that Mark Augustine, who stabbed me in the back for 30 pieces of silver, was trying to say, oh, you can't go against the church, Travis. Oh, don't do it. No, man, you got to confess and admit that you're guilty. You're wrong, Travis. Oops. And so, yeah, that's why I was thrown down the river in cement shoes. And so, 6 years, Dr. Cohn had me locked up. And drug experimented. I told you about that. How the first time Dr. Vidko tried to claim that my religious fast represented a danger to myself and others, and therefore I needed to be drugged. She lost that argument. And so then Mark Shurtleff said, all right, fine. If they're not going to do what I order, let's do it in the court. We'll get them there. So then my lawyer was able to point out, Your Honor, count number 2 indicates that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is considered a government entity, which it is. But the judge said, okay, ask Mark Shurtleff she's telling the prosecutor, ask Mark Shurtleff if he wants to drop this charge or if he wants to refile a new charge. They, of course, refiled under a Class B misdemeanor of, like, harassment or some crap. And, yeah, the whole case was being dismantled, so they immediately stopped the court process. And so Mark Shurtleff firmly ordered, get him on drugs. And they complied, and so because I was scary looking, I was forced on drugs. And I found out from my MARs that I got last year, early last year, or in the summertime actually, because it was after, yeah, sure enough, I had found a nurse that I was talking to who knew what the drugs do to the body, and she was aghast about the experimental nature that they were actually trying to cause harm to me. And so not only that, but the last one that I was put on after the one doctor retired resulted in a serious kidney infection in 2015 after I had been freed for almost 2 years at that point. And yeah, so with that, there was no way I was going to continue to stay on being drugged. And so I had my opportunity in 2016 to say, oh, yeah, no more drugs, I'm out. I'd already been discharged in 2014. But apparently, Valley Behavioral Health decided they didn't want me to be discharged, and so they didn't put in my 2014 MARs with my MARs that I also requested. Oops. But it has in 2016 that I discharged myself. And they, of course, weren't happy. They didn't agree, but they acknowledged that I was discharged. And yet, Valley Behavioral Health would not leave me alone and would not let me go. And so the third one, they actually do a discharge when all hell broke loose in 2018, when they tried to pull me back in against my will. So in 2019, that's when the official discharge was put in there. That's why I know about it, is because I requested it and saw it. So yes, I have the evidence for this case with a signed document of confession by the property manager that that's what they've been doing to me. Ta-da! And so that's that part of it. The church part of it is that when I filed the lawsuit, I had found that the church had been paying Dr. Cohn. You can't do that. She was independent of the church, assigned by the judge. But then the church to then pay her after the fact. Oops, that's a no-no. Can't do that. Even if you think it's harmless, you can't do that. That now is a crime. And so I told Judge Furse, who was supposed to recuse herself because she was compromised, but I didn't know she was compromised when she held the hearing of which she was assigned to my case to dismiss my case for on November 1st, 2019, and informed her of the payments from the church to Dr. Cohn. She said, oh, in the audience behind me that was watching, yeah, they all know it's serious. The judge knew it was serious. She said, okay, file an amended complaint. And you have 30 days to do it. So yes, I filed within the 30 days. And so during that, after I had submitted the amended complaint, I then kept checking to see if the church was still paying. I had made a snapshot of whatever you call it, of the website page, showing the transfer of money, and but now it was gone. She had changed her website, no longer showing that the church was paying her. Oh, now we got cover-up. Mormons who may be listening, what does Section 121 say about those who cover up? Exactly. Many are called, but few are chosen. And so, that was reported, but Judge First refused to do anything. The church council, I finally found out how to waive the service by doing the process that I had done yesterday, which technically the Jewish day yesterday, starting at 6 p.m. on Sunday, and for Yom Kippur. And the defense counsel didn't do what Taylor, everyone keeps calling him that, what Taylor, Councilman Hadfield, did today. They didn't do that. And the 30 days came and went. Judge First did not respond, even after I had notified her of property manager threatening me with eviction with a lease violation on Friday the 13th. Anybody know about the Knights Templar of the York Rites Masons, of whom the Smiths were a part of, versus the Scottish Rites Illuminati of Brigham and Heber C. Kimball? Brigham Young and Heber C. Kimball. Yeah. And so that was in that first complaint, that the church had failed to notify us that we're of the wrong masonry lodge. And they should have seen this coming. But because people did not recuse themselves as they needed to recuse themselves, as Judge Waddups should have recused himself, just as Barlow did in this case. But Jenkins also, as I read to you, the filing of the waiver of summons to the lawyers, I put an unrecused Judge Jenkins, and then talked about later about the bias for not recusing. So yes, I know exactly how I'm wording these things, and I knew exactly how I'm filing these things. Back in 2009, when I first filed, I didn't think I'd have enough time, because I was sure Trump was going to shut down the government. Little did I know he was planning on ending the world with a coronavirus, just as Moses, confronting Pharaoh, had a coronavirus right before the Exodus. So I was right, I just didn't know exactly in what manner the government would be shut down or disabled America for. And so it turned out to be this way. And that, of course, plays right into this current lawsuit, as Joseph Smith knew about the sickness. Doctrine and Covenants 4531. So, there you go. That's where we are. This one is for RICO sedition. So, those 2 weeks before it was approved, It was approved the very next day in the first case. Which, since they went to all the trouble to have Judge First dismiss it, which seems kind of ridiculous, because if I filed it wrong, they were supposed to say, this is wrong, refile it, according to the rules of procedure. Here's the rules of procedure if you need to understand what they are. That's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to stop it at the clerk's desk, and if not, by the appointed judge, who's supposed to say, no, Travis, I'm not accepting this. But they didn't want to do that. They wanted to drag it out. And so that plays a big part in that. And so with the coronavirus, which occurred during the midst of the previous lawsuit, and the property manager attacking me with not only the lease violation, but then a follow-up actual eviction while the case is still not decided yet. That takes balls, and she don't have any. Yeah, I was literally attacked in the first case, as nobody did their job right. Thus we have this one. To use the first one to show, yes, they're Illuminati. Their intent purpose is to destroy America. And there's the evidence. The inverted pentagram also. Finding out that it's the Eagle Gate instead of the Seagull Gate. Yeah, that confirms it. Sort of nails the final coffin. So that's it. That's all. So now I'll got an hour and a half before the presidential debate, which I'll watch, as much as I hate listening to Trump. So, yay.